Before we get started, Adam and I want to send out our well wishes to those of you in the areas affected by Hurricane Harvey.
Definitely a difficult situation, and I've been watching the news reports and those sort of things in a very dangerous situation, and we're thinking of you, man.
And some members of the Seahawks are from that area too, so especially thinking about them and their families. Jermaine Kearse, a native of Houston, and Houston clearly seeing the impacts of the flooding there from the hurricane. And Rees Odhiambo, he's from the Dallas area. Joey Hunt, who is from El Campo, which is
wait a second, is this offensive linemen that like have families in the path here?
You should know that we only draft offensive linemen from Texas, so they
apparently see. This is how you know. This is how you know God hates the offensive line.
Oh.
I mean, I know I make light, but it's a very serious situation there, and I don't mean to do that, but
we are hoping that you'll enjoy the show and give you a few laughs, and if you don't enjoy the show, then just go look at Russell Wilson's pictures that he took with Doug Baldwin and Richard Sherman, because you'll easily get a chuckle out of that.
Well, you better. I mean, Russell Wilson's doing like gang signs or something.
It's not gang signs; they're just West Side.
Is that what that is? Yeah. I don't know. I'm a middle-aged white guy. I have no idea. I mean, I'm as far removed from that as you could possibly be.
Yeah, I think it was for a bet.
A bet's a bet. Hey, I wore a Todd Gurley jersey for a bet. So, yeah, and I understand.
It was also awesome.
It was awesome.
But we want to let you know, Pete Carroll, he tweeted out, if you want to help out those hit the hardest by the effects from Hurricane Harvey, you can go to redcross.org to make a donation. You can also text Harvey to 90999 and make a $10 donation. Pete Carroll challenging all the 12s out there to do that, and definitely a way to help out right now by donating to the Red Cross.
They are amazing at helping us out in our times of need, and this is a great way for you to contribute and help out those folks that are being very affected by Hurricane Harvey.
Welcome to the Seahawkers Podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
I'm just a rogue loose cannon out here. I don't know what I'm doing.
And Brandan Schultz.
Blair, if you're listening, I love you, man. I love your hair. I love the way you kick. I love the way you karate chop the air before you kick.
Go Hawks!
On a quest to own the West, yippee-ki-yay, we make the ground shake. On game day, 12 man, yay, feeling it is vital. The Seahawks coming to take division titles. We are Coach Carroll.
This is episode 168 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandan Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
How are you, Brandan? Did you put on all of your gear for the third preseason game, the dress rehearsal, as you would for a regular season game? Did you take your fandom to the dress rehearsal level too for preseason game number 3, or did you just mail it in?
I mailed it in, dude. It's preseason. I know I have a spot on the roster come the season.
That's
so
true.
I don't have to try.
You've made the 2-man roster for the Seahawkers podcast.
Yeah.
Until your contract gets to be too expensive, and then I'm going to have to look to trade you at that point, I think.
Here's the thing.
Maybe get like a couple first rounders or something.
Oh, yeah. I completely expect that. That's why I need to make sure that I keep up my value come regular season. But
right
in the preseason, I don't want a chance any bad Hawker coming to my gear that I've already prepared for the regular season. That gear is ready to go, set aside for week 1. And that's where it's going to stay until week 1. I'm like Tyler Lockett. I don't need to go out there and prove myself. I know I have a spot.
Okay. So you take the Marshawn Lynch approach to the preseason. Screw it. Is that basically it?
I do like that attitude.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the Seahawks, they finish up their third game of the preseason with a 26-13 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. The Seahawks now 3-0. Going into that fourth preseason game where we're going to just talk about and see guys who we will probably not know their last name and probably not have to speak of it again in the first week of the season. But it's coming up. We're going to talk about the upcoming Raiders game, and also we want to talk about the 53-man roster and what that's going to look like, because, Adam, a week from today, we're going to have our 53-man roster for the Seahawks and know who we're going to have going into the season. Some tough decisions to make, and I want to walk through some of these.
Yeah, that's one thing that I kind of got after watching this last preseason game, Brandon, was I was just seeing all the guys out there and being like, well, I want to keep him and I want to keep him too. And I want to keep him. I want to keep him. And I found myself well over 53 real quick.
You do.
Because there's a lot of guys with some talent and that showed that they belong in the league and that they could really contribute to the team in a time of crisis if you lose some of those big time starters.
So we'll get into that. Seattle Times published their 53-man roster. We'll take a look at what Bob Condotta has for the Seahawks and how we may have a difference in opinion in some of those spots or maybe where we think the same. And why don't we start off with this Kansas City Chiefs game, Adam, because as I mentioned, 26-13, the Seahawks continue their undefeated run throughout the preseason, which I know it doesn't matter. You like to win, but it doesn't matter. The important thing is, though, the starters going into halftime up 16-10, up 19-10 after Blair Walsh had another 47-yard field goal in the third quarter. And the reserves come in, top it off with a touchdown in the fourth quarter. But it's good to see the big lead early on. And really, apart from the special teams return touchdown by DeAnthony Thomas, the 95-yard kickoff return that the Chiefs had, the Seahawks defense holding Alex Smith and the Chiefs to only 3 points in the first half.
Yeah, they did manage to bend and not break, right? And I've always said on the podcast that what I'm concerned about the most is scoring defense. At the end of the day, it's the only thing that really matters. So the idea that they did hold Kansas City's offense to, just 3 points, or their starting offense to just 3 points, is super encouraging. But one thing out of the gate, Brandon, I don't know if you felt the same way on those first couple drives, and really over the course of the preseason up to this date, is the idea that we're getting pushed around on that defensive line, especially in the run game, man.
Yeah.
We were just giving up some big gashers. I don't know. Did you get that sense too?
Well, particularly on the opening drive, the Chiefs looked like they had their way with the defense, right? And that's when Spencer Ware was in the game. But really, after Spencer Ware went out with the injury, and that was a bummer, man, to see former Seahawks draft pick Spencer Ware go down to injury, a season-ending injury. And it looked like that really gave Kansas City a tough time. Also, a lot of drop passes by the Chiefs. So I don't feel like we got the Chiefs' best in this game necessarily. But it was nice to see the stat line of Alex Smith going 7 for 17 for 44 yards, which is 2.6 yards per attempt, which is a pretty incredible stat.
That sounds very Alex Smithian, doesn't it?
I tend to see him a little bit higher than 2.6 yards per attempt, but yes.
He had a much higher yards per attempt last year, I think, than most of the years of his career. He actually pushed the ball downfield a little bit more. His receivers did him no favors. Tyreek Hill dropped a couple balls. It was really tough on the offense that way. I think the other thing that hurt the Chiefs a little bit was penalties. This was a penalty-ridden game, or penalty-riddled game, like throughout.
Oh my gosh,
both teams.
The second half of the game was unwatchable.
It was unwatchable. I'm not going to lie. I turned it off after the third quarter.
I did too. It was the penalties were ridiculous.
Yeah, I just couldn't find a way to care. I didn't have a care to spare anymore.
I think Seahawks fans who were trying to see if the penalties would go over 30, I think those are the people that tuned in just to have that intrigue of could it break that mark?
Yeah, I don't know where it ended up, but it wasn't good.
14 penalties for the Kansas City Chiefs, 13 penalties for the Seahawks, both 126 yards for the Chiefs, 129 yards for the Seahawks.
Well, they made a run at 30. Holy smokes.
They made a run. They almost hit it. That's bad.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's not quality.
No.
Yeah, that's not what you want.
Some of them were pretty ticky-tack by the refs, too.
Yeah, there was a pass interference on, was it Nico Thorpe in the end zone? Or maybe it was Desir.
Yeah.
Desir, however you say his last name.
Where the dude didn't even touch him.
He didn't even touch him. Yeah, exactly. What, did he breathe on him too hard?
Right.
Like what was the pass interference there? So yeah, there were some bad ones in there. And then there were some too, like there was a holding call that was called against one of the Kansas City offensive linemen. It was clear as day. And Dan Fouts was like, I don't know, man. That's a really tough call. Dan Fouts might be my least favorite color commentary guy in all of football, man. He says some of the most nonsensical crap that you could possibly think of.
Well, when Tony Romo gets to be a part of that team, maybe that'll help kind of move Dan Fouts over to the side and just have a few comments here and there, because I would agree with you. It was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad. I mean, I wish I could remember some specifics off the top of my head. I know one of them, they put up a graphic of Brady Wilson and Alex Smith up there, and he's like, these two young quarterbacks in the same conversation as Tom Brady.
Right.
Well,
Alex Smith, a young quarterback?
Not so young. Yeah. Yeah, he just had a few of those like that. Like on the Spencer Ware carry where he got injured.
Yeah.
Terrence Garvin goes running up there, and Ware hits him, but he doesn't put like a punishing blow on him. He's like, oh, he just punished Terrence Garvin there. Blah, 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 blah. And then he ended up going down with a non-contact injury. Well, which is it? Did he smash him up?
Or was
did
it
he
a
go down with a non-contact injury?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't understand that. And on top of all that, Garvin didn't even go for the tackle. He just sat there and tried to strip the ball for 9 yards.
Yeah, and Ware kind of rolled off to the side to try and get some extra yards.
Right. So, yeah, Dan Fouts was terrible. Much like our run fits in the run defense. But that's one of the things after watching the game and processing it a little bit. We've seen spurts, especially early in the year for the Seahawks, where the tackling is tough and needs some work because they don't get a lot of it in camp. And the run fits we struggle with out of the gate, especially on trap plays and draw plays. And Kansas City is running a boatload of those. So I'm sure that'll get worked out.
It feels that way. But you look at it, it just doesn't play out in the stats, though. 22 rushes for 69 yards is all for the Chiefs, whereas the Seahawks, 32 rushes for 134. And that has a lot to do with Chris Carson. 8 rushes, 46 yards. J.D. McKissick even got in the game with 7 rushes and 46 yards toward the end. I think this spells the end for Alex Collins. Alex Collins did not get a carry in this game.
Yeah, he got a did not play.
Yeah.
That's what he got.
In week 3 of that means you're pretty much done. Which is that's too bad for him.
Well, yeah, you never root for a guy to lose his job in the sense that, that's his livelihood, right?
Yeah.
But in the sense of, and I'm sure he's a fine human being too. Like, I've never met Alex Collins.
I love his story.
Yeah, I love his story. He seems like a fine young man. But there's other guys that are more talented that are going to take his position. And you mentioned Carson, you mentioned McKissick, but let us not forget as well, Brandan, that Eddie Lacy came in and had a couple nice runs. That first run out of the gate, that was what you're kind of hoping to see out of Eddie Lacy.
Marcel Reece starts at fullback, and he's in front of Lacy, who bounces it outside, right side, steps out of a tackle, pounds a tackler, fights across the 35, and is finally thrown out of bounds at the 36-yard line. I think they're going to spot it at the 36. They are. A first down on the very first play of the game for the big Seahawks running back, Eddie Lacy, an 11-yard pickup.
He had another run where he just violently threw down one of the KC defenders. It got me fired up.
Yeah, absolutely. That got Dan Fouts fired up too. He said that will remind everybody of beast mode. Okay, every time that happens this year, I just want I want somebody in the announcing booth to walk up to the announcer and just say, "Stop it!
Stop! Just stop it!
Stop it!" It's because it's not the same. It will never be the same. He's not beast mode. Like, just stop it. But a good physical run, which he finished. He showed some good speed getting around the edge. That's the best I've seen Eddie Lacy look during this preseason. I was excited to see that. He had a couple other nice little runs throughout the game. I think he carried the ball maybe 3 times.
4 times, 21 yards.
Okay. Yeah, he did. He had a couple nice effective runs. I was pleased with what I saw there.
And that was one thing we were watching going into this game, right? With Eddie Lacy getting the start, would he look like that type of guy who I know I expected to see, at least somebody that we could get excited about in case Thomas Rawls isn't able to come back or is fighting the injury bug all year? I feel now, after watching that we could get by with Eddie Lacy and Chris Carson.
Yeah, that was the other impression that I came away with from the game is that Chris Carson belongs. And if we had to, if we got down to, say, all of our guys, Procise, Rawls, Lacy, they all can't stay healthy like they haven't been able to throughout their career, right? And we're down to Chris Carson. That's a way better option than what we had at any given point last year once all of our guys started getting injured, where you start to take, CJ Spiller off the street and things like that. He really looks like he belongs, and we could actually function as an offense with Chris Carson, I think.
Yeah, another thing returning in this game was the return of some big plays downfield, right? Russell Wilson connecting with Chris Carson, with Jermaine Kearse, and that's one of the things. Explosive plays is a key part of the Seahawks offense, which made me really excited to see Chris Carson be a part of it on this play.
Sorensen is the safety. Steve Nelson at the other, along with Ron Parker. Carson is in the game now. Play fake to him. Russell scrambling to the left, looks, fires downfield, coming back. Carson makes the catch at the 30, down to the 27, to the 26-yard line. Russell Wilson scrambling, keeping alive, rolling left, and finds his running back, Chris Carson, all the way down inside the 30 to the 27-yard line. He beat the linebacker, D. Ford, for a 37-yard pickup.
D. Ford not looking for the ball, and Chris Carson able to kind of put enough of a move to get open at the last minute, catch the long ball from Russell Wilson as he scrambled outside. That was a fun play to see.
We saw Russell Wilson really open it up in this game. I mean, they just chuck it up to the dude on the outside play, which is basically the way Russell throws the deep ball. He just chucks it up there because, in all honesty, one of three things happens, right? Or one of four things happen. Either it's completed, you get PI on the defense, it's picked, or it's incomplete.
Yeah.
Like, you got a 50-50 shot of it having something good happen. And the pick is one of the least most probable things. You're more probable to either get a completion or a PI call.
Yeah.
And it's really brilliant.
Well, especially when you're throwing to the sidelines like it was on that deep Jermaine Kearse play. And that was a pretty throw, wasn't it? How he just managed to drop it in there. That might be the first sexy deep ball that we've seen from Russell Wilson in this preseason.
Yeah, it's the sexiest deep ball we've seen this year.
It is the sexiest one.
And it was very exciting to see it go to none other than Jermaine Kearse, which, Brandan, we've all offseason, I've been swearing up and down that Jermaine Kearse is going to have a bounce back year and everybody should get off his back. And he showed up in this game and had a nice little showing.
Yeah, he is a lock to make this team. 3 receptions, 59 yards, caught all 3 of his targets in this game. Jermaine Kearse is making this team, so we can stop with this nonsense of who's going to take Jermaine Kearse's spot. Amaro Darboh has barely seen the field in the preseason. He's not making the roster and displacing Kearse. Maybe they keep him around based on his third-round draft pick status, but if it's based on what we've seen in games in the preseason, Kearse is making the team. Kason Williams has got to make this team in addition to Doug Baldwin and Paul Richardson. Paul Richardson may be the only questionable guy because of his injury issues too, but he's fought back and been in the games as well. So,
but he caught a ball and wasn't hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
He caught it. He went out of bounds. I mean, he even took a shot, and he came back. He could play more. I was stunned.
That was cool. That was nice to see.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it more with the 53-man roster, but the wide receiver position is going to be the toughest, where the most difficult decisions, I think, come from this team.
I think it's going to be, one of the top position groups that makes it difficult to know who you want to cut. I think it depends on what you count J.D. McKissick as, whether you count him as a back or a wide receiver. I'd probably count him as a back. And we'll get into more of that later. But one of the cool parts is, Brandan, is we saw a lot of the big explosive plays, which you're right. That is a huge part to the formula of the way the Seahawks win football games. But those big chunk plays couldn't happen unless Russell Wilson had time to throw. How about that offensive line, Brandan?
Oh my gosh. Slow clap it out for the offensive line in this game.
They look like the 17th best offensive line in football, which was fantastic.
Which is as good as we could expect. And that would be incredible.
So I know all of us kind of had our heart in our throats with the idea that George Fant went down with injury. Yeah. But Rees Odhiambo came in and played a heck of a game. He did give up the 1 sack. He got beat once.
Yeah.
He got beat once. But otherwise, he played great at left tackle. They ran at his side a lot. He had some effective run blocking. Afedi looked great in the run game. He wasn't a complete liability in the passing game.
Yeah.
And our interior guys, they really work well as a group. Now, the stat or the graphic showed that Glowinski got the start, but it looked like Ibushi got the start. So we'll see who who gets the start there. But it was Abushian for the first few drives of the game.
Yeah, that's going to be the one position battle. Now, Glowinski, I think, got the start for the second game. So they've kind of been battling back and forth for that spot. I think essentially the entire line is locked up except for that the right guard spot. I think it's going to go to Glowinski, but it feels like kind of a wash with those two guys.
Right, and I definitely feel good about the idea that whether Jokel goes down or, say, Glowinski goes down, you have somebody like Ibushi that can come in and play.
Oh, yeah, depth is huge. And we have the Matt Tobin dude who can play multiple spots, too. That and the fact that Ethan Posick can play multiple spots. So it turns out having versatile offensive linemen could come in handy when it comes time to make the decision with regard to some of these receivers.
And what also comes in handy is the idea that the football gods saved us from the George Fant obsession that Pete Carroll and Tom Cable have by allowing him to become injured and allow us to put a guy out there who actually plays offensive line at left tackle. Look, let's just be honest.
You think there's some Hakra in the universe that allowed that to happen, huh?
We're winning. The gods want us to win it this year. That's clear. And look, Odhiambo, you put him out there in the game that he had yesterday. That was as good as any of George Fant's best performances.
Yeah.
Like his best. And he had a whole week to really train hard just to starting left tackle?
Knowing that it was going to be his job to lose now.
Yeah. And he went out there and performed admirably. I think the football gods have saved us from the George Fant obsession. Thank you. Thank the makers.
It is a bummer with Fant and his story, but it did seem like an obsession. I'll agree with you there.
Right. Thank you. Some reason has come to the offensive line room, and I'm really excited about that because look at what happens when you keep Russell Wilson just any sort of semblance of clean in the pocket.
Well, and I was happy to see it too because every time I heard someone doom and gloom over the season, over the idea that losing Fant was somehow going
the linchpin of the season. Like if you lose Russell or Earl or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, the starting left tackle is an important position, but the Seahawks do not place that much of importance on it if you're starting a dude who played basketball and last played left tackle in the 8th grade. So the Seahawks are different than a lot of other teams out there.
Well, yeah, and the drop off from, or if there is even a drop off from Fant to whoever you have out there at left tackle because of the way they have the team structured, isn't all that significant in comparison to like Russell Wilson goes down, the drop off to Trevon Boykin.
It's huge.
That's extreme. Like, I mean, that's a season. Yeah, your season's done.
Let's talk Trevon Boykin because in this game he comes in, throws 6 passes.
Bus. Yeah,
completes 0 for a 0 quarterback rating.
That's not
in
true.
This
He
game.
completed 1.
Yeah, well, to the opposite team. That doesn't
Minor
count.
detail.
So not the best outing for Boykin. Austin Davis comes in, does the exact opposite, goes 5 for 5, and throws a touchdown pass to Tanner McAvoy.
At the 28 of KC, swoops to tight end, settles on the right side with an offset eye. Davis looks, lays it up over the top. McAvoy reaches up, makes the catch. He is in! Touchdown! Seahawks reaching up over the top of Ballsby, the cornerback. That is a perfect alley-oop back shoulder throw of 28 yards, and McAvoy times it perfectly. He is in. The Seahawks stretch their lead to 25-13.
A play that you and I only saw in the highlights because we had long tuned out of the actual game by then.
Correct. But, congratulations to Tanner McAvoy, somebody that I would love to see make the team. Maybe when we go through the roster, let's see where he might fall within that 53. One little thing about Boykin and his performance. I mean, Coach Carroll's quote after the game was, I don't think the 5 or 6 passes that he threw in this game should be the final decision on it. I think he's done very well.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think Austin Davis somehow beat out Trevon Boykin in this one game. I mean, Boykin had a couple nice showings the previous 2 games. So, I mean, you're never as good as your best game and you're never as bad as your worst.
No, and maybe that'll give Trevon Boykin a little bit of motivation, though, going into this 4th game.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope.
I have a hard time getting a read off him.
Well,
yeah.
Like you said before, the drop off from Russell Wilson to either Boykin or Davis is so huge.
Or any other backup.
Yes. That if it's a long-term scenario, that spells doom for the team.
Yeah, let's say the team had signed Colin Kaepernick, right?
Right.
Still doom.
For the long term, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just if Russell's done for the year, your year's just done.
And maybe you don't have Justin Britt locked up long term now.
Right. So, I mean, I don't care what team you are, you lose that starting quarterback and it's curtains. So, I mean, the hand-wringing over who your backup is, probably not a lot to it.
Going back to this game, one of the other big plays of note, we see Jimmy Graham in the game inside the 5-yard line with a throw from Russell Wilson.
Carson wide to the near side, 3 receivers far side. Russell steps up, waits, throws down the middle. Ball is caught, reaching out, bouncing off a defender is Graham, down to the 5-yard line. And Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson rush to an official to call timeout. It almost looked like Jimmy Graham reached out with one hand and pulled that in. A 30-yard gain inside the 5.
They get down to the end zone, and this is one thing that is the one criticism that I have coming out of this game. Red zone efficiency in this game. A lot of underthrown passes by Russell Wilson. It takes me back to some of what we saw last year.
But then again, are you busting out your creme de la creme of plays in the red zone in the third preseason game? Or are you just running the generic fade every play?
They were still underthrown passes, though.
Okay, well, look, there's something that we all need to come to grips with, and I don't understand why this is the case, because he does a good job at this, like every other time he throws it just up for jump balls, but Russell Wilson throws a crappy fade route.
It's true.
It's just that he underthrows it every time.
It's about a 1 in 5 success rate.
Yeah, but he so consistently underthrows it. That's what I don't understand.
Right.
Oh, start erring on the other side of caution, right? Like, just start putting it over their heads, like just to try to get yourself in range.
It's like when you're out on the driving range for the golf course and you're trying to dial in that 20-yard chip shot, right?
Right.
You go out to the driving range. If you're always coming up short, you just start aiming over the green a little bit more,
right?
Until you have it down.
Yeah. Although you brought up an analogy that I never could get that down. Chipping was the worst part of my game by far. Like. Pretty good player, but can't chip worth a dang, man. Can't do it.
Maybe that's Russell's issue too. No matter how much time he spends on the range, he can't get that chip shot.
Yeah, I feel his pain at that point then.
Oh, well, sorry to bring up some pain on that.
It's okay. I'll just chili dip the next chip that I attempt here just because of that. Now it's in my head.
Well, it does lead to a Blair Walsh 21-yard field goal, and thank goodness. We'll have to hear every season. I see this already. Every time Blair Walsh lines up for a close field goal this year, we're going to have to hear about that one play, that one field goal that he missed against the Seahawks in the playoffs. It's going to happen.
It is going to happen. It's a lot like the play that shall not be talked about.
Right. Except this one actually brings back kind of good memories for us, but
right. But we imported that into our team. You know what I mean? Like,
it's very strange.
Yeah. So now we have to sit there and hear about it all the time, or either that you won't necessarily have to hear the whole story, but you hear a lot of, well, it's, good for him, but it's not a pressure kick, game-winning kick in the playoffs yet.
Right. Oh, at
least that snarky comment,
Right. And I can guarantee you, though, hearing about that all season, when it comes time for the postseason, all of our stomachs are going to be up in our throat for that first Blair Walsh short kick in the playoffs.
You think so? Mine won't.
No, you think he'll just be dialed in,
dude? I've already seen what I needed to see out of Blair Walsh.
Well, he did miss one in this game, but he got the mulligan.
Yeah, he did miss it. How did he miss it? Did he miss it badly?
No,
or did he bounce it off the upright?
Yeah, it was just, I think, just to the right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He hit the upright.
Yeah.
Like, I'm no hand-ring, and every other one was like straight down the middle. So he's fine. He's doing great.
Okay.
I've got zero worries about Blair Walsh going forward.
0 is a big jump for me, but it's diminished. It's a lot less than what I expected going into the preseason.
Brandan, if the kicker is listening to this podcast, I need you to say you've got zero worries. This is a mental thing for Blair Walsh. You gotta have that confidence. It's that irrational confidence. You gotta have it. Blair,
if you're listening, I love you, man. I love your hair. I love the way you kick. I love the way you karate chop the air before you kick.
Yes. I love the way that he points and taunts his former teammates.
I really do love that.
Yeah.
But, Blair Walsh, if you're listening.
And zero worries, right, Brandan?
Zero worries. I have zero worries for you.
Okay. Thank you. Jeez.
All right, Adam. Well, I think that about wraps it up for the coverage of the Kansas City game. Overall, I do feel good because one thing that we have seen through these first 3 preseason games are the ability of Russell Wilson with the first team offense to drive down the field and get points on the board early, which isn't necessarily things that we saw throughout the season last year, right? A lot of times they struggled getting points early. That's kind of what you want to see from your first team offense.
Last year? How about the last 4 years?
Yeah.
The slow start thing has been an MO of this team for, season after season, seemingly. And it's something that drives us all crazy. It's like, why can't they play in the first and second quarter, or in the first and third quarter like they play the second and fourth?
Yeah, exactly.
Because once again, like even in this game, you watch them go hurry up, and they just chewed them up. Boy, I'm telling you, I'm excited about watching them speed up the tempo here and there in these games. Russell Wilson has such command of this offense now that he really does just chew people up, because they came out in the third quarter and sped it up a little bit, and he just boom, 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 took him right down the field. That's the noise he made too, in case you're wondering.
Boom, 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 boom. He did that while he was playing.
Yeah.
It's like Michael Jordan with his tongue out. Russell Wilson goes boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, every time the ball came out of his hand, he just went boom. That might not be a true fact.
You may have to look that up and verify it.
But he did go down there and just tear him up. So the hurry-up offense and that 2-minute drill looked really good. It's always been something Russell's thrived at, really. Another cool thing to see.
One thing I know for sure about Russell Wilson, he's going to make the team. He is in slot number 1 for me for making the 53-man roster.
I don't know, man. Austin Davis had a strong showing.
Well, he did go 5 for 5. So that's one thing.
I'm ready to crown him.
Russell Wilson can't say that he was perfect on the day like Austin Davis can.
That's true fact.
But when it comes to the 53-man roster coming up, all NFL teams have to get down from 90 all the way down to 53 by 1:00 p.m. on Saturday, Seattle time. So coming up this weekend. I thought it was Sunday. This says Saturday.
Okay.
And in past years, teams have had to cut down to 75 before the final preseason game. They changed that this week. Now we get to see all those dudes on the field for the final preseason game.
Yeah, and it's the preseason game that's the least consequential. We're going to see a lot of the 3s and the 4s play. Mm-hmm. And it's hugely consequential to them, right? I mean, they're trying to either grab that last roster spot or make a strong showing so that another team wants to pick them up and either put them on their roster or practice squad or things of that nature. So it's monumental to a lot of different guys, but to the average fan, it's a little tough to watch. I really don't know what you can glean from it, and I don't blame 3/4 of it if you don't watch it,
because it's tough for us to try and to decide, those 2 or 3 guys who are going to make the team because of this game. And there may not even be the 2 or 3 guys that make the team because of game 4. These decisions may already be made. And unless it's something amazing that they see that they haven't seen to this point in the preseason, I think they've pretty much made their decisions, which is why I want to run down this list and kind of look at some of these guys and where those key spots are. And as we mentioned at quarterback, I think you and I think Russell Wilson, Trevon Boykin, those are going to be your 2 guys.
Yeah, for sure. I think that obviously it's going to be those 2 guys. Then Bob Condotta on his projections here, he needs an honorary do better because he has the correct dudes listed at tailback. He just has them in the wrong order. I don't know if he forgot to talk to Thomas Rawls, but the order of the depth chart for the backfield is Thomas Rawls, Thomas Rawls, Thomas Rawls.
I've always been a person if it was a depth chart with 3 selective players, I look at it as Thomas Rawls, and Thomas Rawls. I've always been in competition with myself.
He may have forgotten that.
Yeah, and he's got Eddie Lacy listed at 1.
Yeah, that's not correct.
That's not correct.
No, it's going to be Thomas Rawls, Eddie Lacy, CJ Procise, Chris Carson. Those, to me, are the four guys in my mind who've locked up a spot. And the big question is, and you mentioned Bob Condotta's list, he has J.D. McKissic on the list at running back as running back number 5. And it makes sense to me based off of what happened last year and having some of the injury questions with Thomas Rawls and CJ Procise that you'd want to consider keeping 5 running backs going into week 1. You'll see, though, as we talk about this, how much that impacts other spots by keeping 5 running backs on the roster.
It does. Now, one thing about McKissic, if he does make the roster, and I believe he will, I actually agree with Condotta on this, is just his versatility.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that he can really do a little bit of everything. He can play some receiver. He can play some running back. He can take back kicks and punts. I mean, that's one guy, sure. Now you're keeping 5 backs, but it's one guy that can fill another 4 dudes' jobs. I mean, he can play on kickoff coverage. I mean, all of that stuff. So I fully expect them to keep him just because of the value he brings that way.
Okay, well, and that leaves Alex Collins cut, as we've talked about before. Mike Davis, who's had some pretty good plays in this preseason, he gets cut. I just don't see either of those guys making a spot. You mentioned J.D. McKissic's versatility. That's what gives him the value over the others. At fullback, you have Trey Madden and you have Marcel Reece. And for me, if I'm going to keep 5 running backs, I wouldn't keep a fullback going into week 1 of the season. And part of the reason for that is, and Bob Condotta mentions cutting Marcel Reece. The reason why you do that is if you don't take a veteran into week 1 from the preseason, then you don't have to fully guarantee that veteran contract throughout the season. So the logic.
Look at you, tricky GM, man. I didn't know that.
No, that's why they did it with Tukuafu last year, too.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right, because I was going to say blasphemy that Reece doesn't make the roster because I think he's better than Trey Madden, but the idea that you don't have to guarantee it, now that's pretty smart.
Right. You only have to guarantee 25% of the contract if they're signed after week 1 of the season or after the 53-man roster cuts come. And I believe it's after week 1 of the season. So, yeah, the idea of keeping Trey Madden in that case, it makes sense to me, or just cutting fullbacks altogether and knowing that come after week 1 of the season, after you play the Packers, either Trey Madden or Marcel Reece will be out there and you would have a little bit more cap flexibility.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Moving on to tight end, this is cut and dry. Jimmy Graham, Luke Wilson, Nick Vannett, which leaves Tyrone Swoops, Steve Donatel on the outs. I don't think this really takes all that much discussion, right? We've seen a lot from Nick Vannett to say, yes, he's got a spot on this team. He's played some special teams in the preseason this year. You know, Luke Wilson and Jimmy Graham are making the team.
Yeah, for sure. I would look for Tyrone Swoops to be a guy that they try to sneak onto practice squad.
I do like Swoops as a practice squad guy. At wide receiver, Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, Paul Richardson, Jermaine Kearse, Kason Williams, the 5 locks.
Correct.
At wide receiver, which leaves 1 spot open for Amara Darboh, Tanner McAvoy, Kenny Lawler, the 6th round draft pick David Moore, or was he 7th round? Late round pick. Cyril Grayson, the speedy guy that they picked up, who was the track guy for so long, and then Rodney Smith and Darius Rogers, who I can't say that I really saw on the field. So all those guys for 1 spot on the roster. For me, I give it to Tanner McAvoy.
Yeah, you and I are of the same mind. So basically that would mean cutting Amara Darboh.
Yeah. And it's hard to do. And I don't think you can sneak a guy like that to the practice squad necessarily. A guy who was a 3rd round pick. It depends. And that's one of the things that I will be watching against the Raiders, because if they put Amara Darboh out there for a significant portion of time, you're giving other teams a chance to look and see what he can do. If they decide to keep Darboh out against the Raiders, that might signal the idea of, well, maybe teams haven't seen enough of him and we can try and stash him to the practice squad.
So do you think you could stash Tanner McAvoy on the practice squad? Because, man, he really flashed last year.
He did. And part of the thing about keeping 2 quarterbacks, now I know that Cam Chancellor can play quarterback in emergency situations, but Tanner McAvoy...
You have to have 2 quarterbacks. Stop it.
No, for your 3rd guy. As your emergency quarterback, I think Tanner McAvoy would be a little bit more effective than having Cam Chancellor come in emergency.
You tell that to Cam Chancellor.
I'm not telling him.
Okay.
You better do not tell him that I said that.
It's on air, dude. You did it. Can you imagine the coach like walking up to him and being like, it's emergency quarterback time and be like, yeah, we're going to put Tanner in there.
I wouldn't want to tell Cam that. No.
I would much rather see Tanner McAvoy on there just because I've seen his versatility. He can also play tight end a little bit too. So the idea that you have an extra tight end that way with McAvoy on the roster, and from the remaining names, I would look for Cyril Grayson to end up being one of the practice squad guys. I mean, just an athletic freak and with not a lot of experience coming in, obviously, just being a track guy. He really flashed during camp, and I think that's a guy that they're intrigued by and will try to keep around practice squad wise.
They're going to have a tough time even on practice squad because if nobody takes Darbo, you still have Kenny Lawler and David Moore too, and Moore is a guy they kind of like the upside of. You can't have 4 guys on the practice squad playing receiver.
I mean, have you seen anything out of Kenny Lawler that has impressed you in any way other than his hair?
He does have impressive hair.
He's got gray hair.
I wish I had hair like that.
You and me both, man. But yeah, it just...
You can't keep a dude on the team because of his hair. I understand. You want to, but you can't.
The hair can be a bonus, like Troy Polamalu, but it can't be the sole reason why you keep him.
Troy Polamalu is going to be in the Hair Hall of Fame. Kenny Lawler. I'm not going to put him in just yet.
No, he needs some on-field production, man.
He's going to go to the Lions and catch like 40 passes.
Yeah, probably. Or the Bills or something.
Yeah.
Because who knows what they're doing with their roster. They're just going to pick up a bunch of dudes after cut day.
Sure.
Because they're cutting dudes right and left.
Moving on to offensive line. Locks on this team to me would be Justin Britt, Mark Lewinsky, Ibushi, Ethan Posick, their second round pick, Luke Jokel, Rees Odhiambo, who we've talked about, Jermaine Kearse, all those guys. That's 7 guys right there. Traditionally, they keep 9, which means 2 more spots for guys like Matt Tobin, Joey Hunt, Will Parachak, Darryl Brown, Tyrus Thompson, and Jordan Roos. Of those guys, do you pick 2 of those guys, or do you change things up and not have the fullback going into week 1 just so you can keep 9 guys on the offensive line?
Yeah, since you had made that intriguing little wrinkle with the with your little cap maneuverations there, yeah, I think I'd probably go with Tobin and Roos at that point as your last 2, and then after week 1, then you see.
Right,
but it'll be interesting to me to see which one of those 2 guys sticks long term. I mean, I know they traded for Tobin and everything, but I thought Roos has played okay through spots too, so he's made a fine showing of himself for the most part.
Yeah, I would give those final 2 spots to Tobin and Roos at this point. Roos, you might be able to slip him to the practice squad. I don't know. But Joey Hunt is probably a guy who's going to be cut because you have that versatility of Ethan Posick being able to play center.
Right. So last year, my irrational statement for the entire year was that we were going to the Super Bowl. Like I just started early.
Yeah.
And I just went with it. Yeah. You know what it is this year, Brandon?
No.
Rees Odhiambo's a Pro Bowler.
Ooh.
It's happening.
Pro Bowl.
Mark it down. Write it down in Sharpie. Rees Odhiambo, Pro Bowler. Doesn't have a ring.
I like it. Hey,
Pro Bowler Rees.
I can be on the Rees train too, Adam. I've already queued up a sound drop for riding on the Rees train this season.
Come on, Rees train.
Come on, Rees train. Just like Cat Stevens says.
He says peace train, dude.
No, listen to it again. He clearly says Rees train.
Clearly?
Come on, Beast Train.
You might be able to get Beast Train out of it. The only thing that I hear clearly in that is ooh-wah-ee-wah.
I hear Rees train. Cat Stevens says it. It's true. We're all riding on the Rees train. It's straight to the Pro Bowl. Now, right. I don't know why you stop there. Why not just have the entire left side of the line as Pro Bowl from, starting at center with your newly signed high dollar, 3-year extension center in Justin Britt, and then go left guard Luke Jokel and left tackle Rees Odhiambo.
Well, I don't want the football gods to smite the entire left side of the offensive line down. So I'm putting all my eggs just in that one basket.
It's probably a good strategy.
Right. You don't want to tempt the gods too much,
No, especially after you have already said that they've given you Rees Odhiambo as that potential now that Fant's gone down.
That's why I feel comfortable in anointing him to the Pro Bowl already, is because this was the gift from the football gods that they gave us. He's obviously chosen.
I see.
This will make Tim Moon really sad, but it's listener Tim Moon. But
hey, if Tim is sad about having a Pro Bowl left tackle, then he's more of a Fant fan than a Seahawks fan. That's all I have to say.
Ooh, that will put him in a precarious position. I like it.
Well, moving on to special teams. This is easy. Blair Walsh, John Ryan, Tyler Ott are your three guys there. And that's all we have. So it's a good thing none of those guys are getting cut.
What jersey number does Tyler Ott wear?
Oh, is he 69?
He needs to go. Yeah, he is 69, but he needs to go to double zeros.
If they could do double zeros, they can't. But if they could,
why can't they?
That's just not a number that they even allow.
Yes, it is.
When?
There's a Pro Bowl center from the Raiders that has wore double zeros his entire career.
His entire career? No.
Yes. I can't think of his name for the life of me off the top of my head. He was a player in the 70s. Mean SOB.
Oh, well, it's not anymore.
What? How has this gotten outlawed? No, I don't believe you.
Jim Otto, was that the guy?
Yes, Jim Otto.
The NFL's best players by uniform, 00 to 49, at number 0, Jim Otto.
At double zero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler Ott needs to go with double zeros.
I'm telling you, dude, I don't think they're allowed to do this anymore.
I'm getting the commissioner on the phone on this one. We got to figure this out.
Well, let's move on to the defense while you get the commissioner on the phone.
Okay.
And talk about who's staying on the defensive line, because a lot of guys here too. Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, Ataba Rubin, Jaron Reed, Frank Clark, Nazir Jones, Cassius Marsh. I guess through Cassius Marsh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. Those are your 7 locks, at least for me. Mm-hmm. And then for the final 1 or 2 spots, you have Quentin Jefferson, David Bass, Garrison Smith, Jeremy Liggins, and 4 or 5 more names that I don't even know. Deion Jordan, we haven't seen any of him. He could be a non-football injury guy, along with Malik McDowell going into the season. So Quentin Jefferson, David Bass, Garrison Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Garrison Smith was the guy that in David Bass, like those are the two that are a little interchangeable to me. I've seen them both flash. I know a lot of people are really excited about Bass.
He's had a good preseason. He may have had the best preseason rushing the passer of any of the defensive linemen on the team.
But man, Garrison Smith looks the part, doesn't he? He's a specimen.
Yeah, I would maybe do Garrison Smith and David Bass and keep 9 guys on the defensive line.
And so then you would get rid of what?
Quentin Jefferson would be cut.
You would cut Quentin Jefferson?
Maybe. This is hard.
No,
you have to
definitely keep Quentin Jefferson.
Cut one guy between Smith, Jefferson, and Bass. You're not keeping 10 guys on the defensive line.
Unless you get rid of Roos on the offensive line.
I think I think the numbers on the offense, they tend to split them pretty well evenly. I think you would maybe keep 5 linebackers instead of 6. So maybe you could do that.
That could be a way you could go there. Yeah.
But then we get to the linebackers, and you have Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, to me, probably Michael Wilhoit would be a lock. Then you have DJ Alexander, a guy that they traded for, but we haven't seen much of. You have Terrence Garvin, who's had some nice games this preseason.
He's had some okay games. I'm not overly impressed with Terrence Garvin.
I'm not. I wouldn't consider him a lock. That's for sure. You have Dewey McDonald, who plays a lot of special teams. You have Mike Morgan, who's been on this team for a long time. You have Cache Palacio, who you've seen play special teams and has you've seen him in there for some plays. And then Rodney Butler, Otha Peters, guys that I've probably already cut in my mind. So if you're going to keep 5, though, Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, Michael Wilhoit, that leaves 2 spots for DJ Alexander, Marcus Smith, Terrence Garvin, Dewey McDonald, and Mike Morgan. Those 5 guys, because we have all the linebackers.
That's true. So you can't collect them all for the entire season.
No.
This was the hardest position for me to evaluate through the preseason just in play. Because beyond KJ and Bobby, I really didn't see anybody that wowed me in any way.
Other than the versatility of Will Hoyt to be at multiple positions, you see him as that versatile backup player.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, he's fine. I didn't see anything out of him that was like, oh my. But just because of his versatility, I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. He's a lock for sure. But honestly, you could take any mixture of all the names that you just read off there, and I'd be like, okay.
I think you keep DJ Alexander because based off his special teams play last year.
That makes sense.
And I think you keep Mike Morgan because you know what you have in him.
You would think so, but they've gotten rid of Mike Morgan a couple times now.
Yeah. Dewey McDonald, maybe. It's between Mike Morgan and Dewey McDonald for me.
Yeah, probably. Very difficult for me to make an evaluation on that group.
Okay, well, if we're keeping 10 defensive linemen and 5 linebackers, that probably means that we're only going to be able to keep 5 corners, depending on what you do at the safety spot. Starting to see where the numbers come into play in this. At corner, you have Richard Sherman, Jeremy Lane, Shaq Griffin, Tremaine Brock. There's 4. If you decide to keep 6, then you have 2 spots left for Pierre Desir, Mike Tyson, Nico Thorpe, DeAndre Elliott, and Demetrius McRae.
Yeah, so this was a group that we were really excited to check out all through the preseason for sure. I thought Jeremy Lane played well in spurts there through the preseason, or through this last game.
He had a big hit on special teams in this last game.
Yeah, and so I definitely, he's obviously a lock. Griffin's obviously a lock. Do you really think Tremaine Brock is a lock?
I don't know if he's a lock. That could be depending on what the coaches see, if he's getting the playbook down, if he's getting the technique down. I could see him going.
Choose Nico Thorpe over Pierre Desir.
Yeah, that's a coin flip for me.
Yeah, but exactly. If you decide to go the other direction, I'm not mad about it. But
because Nico Thorpe's kind of, I've seen him on special teams make some nice plays too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would look for them to keep Thorpe over Desir. That'd be my guess.
Based on special teams probably wins that battle, right?
Is Tremaine Brock going to play next game?
I would think you'd have to.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play, then I think he's a lock to make the team.
Yeah, oddly enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 6 here. I'm going to say Sherman Lane, Griffin, Tremaine Brock, Nico Thorpe, and I'm going to keep Desir. So I'm going to keep 6 guys here.
You keep Desir over Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe Tyson makes practice squad.
That'd be a good place for him probably for a year.
Because he's making the move from safety to corner.
Correct.
So that leaves just 4 spots at safety for Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Bradley McDougall, Delano Hill. The first 3 guys are for sure locks, Earl, Cam, and McDougall. And then you have 1 spot left for Delano Hill, Tedrick Thompson, and Marcus Cromartie. Yeah,
so here I would go with, I would keep 1 less corner. I would keep Thorpe and lose Desir. And I would keep an extra safety in this situation. I mean, obviously Earl and Cam and Bradley McDougall, they love Delano Hill, it seems like. And I'm intrigued by Tedrick Thompson's game still. I know he didn't look great in the preseason, but that's a guy that, you drafted in the mid rounds. And I think, you want to keep around and to see what he can do.
Well, that's what I would be watching then coming up against the Raiders, is whether or not I would keep Tedrick Thompson over Pierre Desir.
I'd keep Tedrick Thompson.
You already think so, but for me, that would be something that I would want to watch to see.
Yeah. Yep. That'll be an interesting part of it for sure. Because, I mean, Condotta points out in his article that, a mid-round Seahawks defensive back, if you release him, he's going to get snapped up. Somebody's going to take him. You're not sneaking him to practice squad.
Oh, yeah. Well, you saw last year that you had dudes that were undrafted guys that teams were picking up.
Right.
So I have no doubt that a mid-round guy that the Seahawks take, somebody's going to snap up.
Oh, for sure.
But I just haven't seen enough from Thompson in the preseason to make me think that, we're going to lose a whole lot that we can't get somewhere else, or like we need that depth.
No, again, you're kind of, it's like which guy, how much depth do you want at safety in compared to corner, I guess, is what it boils down to.
Well, that does it for our look at the 53-man roster.
I think we nailed it. I don't even know why they paid John Schneider. They should just tune into the pod.
Yeah, we've made all the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see, though, how tough it's going to be to make some of these decisions. There's going to be guys. That Tanner McAvoy might be playing for the Bills this year.
That would break my heart a little bit.
I know.
Or
the Browns. It doesn't matter where these guys go. They might be playing for other teams when we go, oh, remember that guy? Just like we see Spencer Ware playing for the Chiefs. Oh, man, that would be a good guy to have as one of the competing guys on our roster. Spencer Ware would have been awesome to have on the team last year.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Man. And to see those guys doing well in other teams, it's tough.
It is tough, but it does show that we do draft well. We just don't always make the exact right decision of who to keep. But it's tough business, and that's those are hard decisions to make, just like you said. So we'll see how it all shakes out here after preseason game 4. So next time that we speak with you guys, we'll know exactly how those decisions shook out, and it'll be good to know. Because then after that, Brandon, it's week 1.
Week 1 coming up against the Packers. I can't wait. And next week, we're going to be previewing the first matchup of the season with the Green Bay Packers as the Seahawks go on the road. I can't wait. Adam, what do you say we get on to the second half of the show?
Sounds good to me, man. If it makes it quicker, makes week 1 come quicker, let's get on to it. Let's move on.
Let's move on. But before we do, let's talk some pristine auction. Adam, we've talked about pristine auction quite a bit these last few weeks, especially about the daily auctions. Pristine auction, Pristine. And I'm always excited to look and see what they've got going on in terms of the daily auctions.
Yeah, they always have a lot of cool stuff. Now, one thing to think about too, is, as a football fan, is that you have birthdays and Christmas and things like that come up for loved ones, right? Even though you still love them because they're family or friends, they may have a different fandom. So Pristine Auction doesn't always just have just Seahawks things that you can look up. You can find things for other teams on there too.
And just as I type in SeahawkersPodcast.com/auction, and it takes me to all of the items that have something to do with the Seattle Seahawks, I'm a little bit disappointed in Pristine Auction this week because the number one item that my eyeballs see is a Malcolm Butler signed Patriots Super Bowl 49 interception photo. You should bid on this just so a Patriots fan can't win it and then set it on fire, just so nobody has to see it.
You've done something really egregious for your Hakra, and it's way out of whack.
Yeah.
Way out of whack. This is a great way to get it right. Yeah, you burn a signed Malcolm Butler photo. Absolutely.
And there's still a couple days left on that. So by the time you hear this may still be available.
Right. And you'll have time to go get a lighter and prepare, everything, get ready to go for it. Yeah.
Some Steve Largent autograph helmets, limited edition. I still want one. I keep saying it, and nobody sent me a helmet yet. Adam, I'm looking at you, man.
Looking at me?
I mean, Christmas is coming, dude.
How dare you bring up Christmas in August, number one, because I dread Christmas. I dread it why I do too.
You do. Yeah.
It's Santa photos, man.
I know.
But maybe this year, because I give a bonus to Santa every year, right? Mm-hmm. For his job. He's a big Cowboys fan. Maybe I'll find something on Pristine Auction that I can give to him as a little bonus, as a thank you.
If you can find a Tony Romo photo autographed where he's bobbling the snap against the Seahawks, that would be ideal.
That would be ideal.
And the good thing about Pristine Auction, that if you get it there, it's going to be an authentic Tony Romo autograph.
That's exactly right. Yeah, there's no way he's signed those pictures. But man, if there was ever a place to do it, it would be there. And you would know it's authentic.
And it's quick and free to register, free to bid. You only pay when you win at Pristine Auction. Go and check out the Seahawks items. We've given you a link to get you right to the ones that you want. Seahawkerspodcast.com/auction. Getting into the second half of the show, be sure and check out Seahawkers.org. If you're a member of the Seahawkers already and you're in the Seattle area, you want to go there and check out where the Seahawkers fan area is inside of Touchdown City at CenturyLink Field. And so if you're a member there, you can go and hang out before the game. It's just off of the main stage and in view of the TVs while you're there, right by the concessions. A perfect spot to hang out before the game if you're not out tailgating in other places.
Yeah, it sounds like they've thought of everything there.
I know.
It's always kind of fun inside Touchdown City there. So
you got the pro shop, you got the concessions. Yeah.
Concessions. I'm hungry. I didn't know. But now I do. Concessions sound good right now.
Especially game day concessions.
Mm-hmm.
All of the food pairs well with beer.
in the world.
All
the food in the world pairs well with beer. I have yet to eat something and been like, yeah, no, just that with a beer, just that doesn't work.
I don't know.
Maybe ice cream?
No, I've had an ice cream float in beer that's good.
Okay.
What about chocolate? Like a chocolate mousse?
I don't know if it was with one of those like dark kind of...
Oh, yeah, like a porter?
Yeah. That, see? Goes good with beer. Pairs well.
Email us in, gohawks@seahawkerspodcast.com if you know of a food that does not pair with beer.
Good luck on that.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Maybe we'll give away a prize. I don't know. I'm curious to know now, though.
Eggplant? That probably goes fine with beer, too.
That probably only goes well with beer. You know, I was thinking about it over the break, Adam, and this idea of Rees Odhiambo, your new prediction for 2017.
You mean Pro Bowler Rees Odhiambo?
Yeah. It's less spectacular than a Super Bowl prediction.
Oh, that's fine. They don't all have to be that bombastic every year, do they?
And we really don't want Rees Odhiambo playing in the Pro Bowl.
Why?
Because we want our team to be in the Super Bowl.
He can be, not playing in the Pro Bowl. I thought you were meaning like just not selected for the Pro Bowl.
No,
okay.
we don't want him playing in that game.
Well, clearly, yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. I mean, I understand all the ramifications here.
Okay. I'm just checking.
I mean, I know I don't always think crap through, but like I know that much.
Okay. It got me thinking because I'm betting that there are people listening out there going, yeah, is Adam really thinking this through?
Well, is that different than any other week?
No, you're right.
Okay.
Also, with the 53-man roster being finalized, one thing we need to keep in mind, John Schneider, listening to him before the game against the Chiefs, you can tell he's still out there looking to make things happen.
Oh, you bet. I mean, other guys are going to be released from other teams and all that. I mean, that's part of your due diligence as a general manager is to stay on top of all of that. And you know that John Schneider and his staff are right on top of that.
You could see him looking to make a trade with Alex Collins. That could be a big reason why you didn't see him with any game time action.
What are they going to trade?
I don't know.
Some tackling dummies?
Might get a 7th.
Like a bag of footballs?
You might get a 7th for Alex Collins.
No. Get out of here. He was a 6th-round pick to start with.
5th, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, you're not getting crap for him.
Okay.
John Schneider calls you tomorrow and says, hey, I got Alex Collins. Want to make a trade? Dude, what's your first reaction?
Yeah, probably not.
No.
But I'm not.
Why don't you just release him and then I'll grab him if I'm at all interested for some unknown reason?
There might be a couple teams interested. And they just want to make sure that they get him.
Okay, then.
Maybe Michael Flatley's a fan of, like the Bucks or something. And they really want to get Alex Collins
for his river dancing prowess.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm going to go with that's unlikely.
Okay. I'll accept that, but I will say I was right in that you don't know for sure.
Only because there's a 0.001% chance that it happens.
I accept your apology.
Okay, then. You're welcome.
Some people we don't have to apologize to this week. Some new members of the flock, Adam.
Some new flockers?
Got some new... Yeah.
Yeah.
That seemed to be sticking in the Ring of Honor this last week.
That's been sticking everywhere.
Yeah.
All you little flockers came through on that one. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Hey man. I told you when you brought up your AC/DC clickbaited song, right? Because you know how I feel about that
You're
band.
going to get me back at some point?
No, that was not what I said. I said that sometimes, this is a show between two people, and there's going to be some things that you're excited about and I'm not as excited about. That's okay. I can get on board. Let's do it. Isn't that what I said?
Yeah, that's true. You did, and I think you said something about having different senses of humor and tastes and things. Yeah. And you find this really funny.
I find it mildly amusing and
amusing.
Okay, moderately amusing.
Okay.
Moderately. That's probably that's closer to the point. But, I find more amusing is that me and all these other flockers are getting under your skin with it. Yeah. That's what I find the most amusing.
That might be why it's so amusing to them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's part of the fun.
So welcoming some new members of the flock, we have Sarah Wysocki in at the $3 level. Welcome to the flock, Sarah.
Yeah, welcome to the flock. Welcome to the Patreon League as well. That'll be fun.
It will be. And a couple more people into the Patreon League, including John Edelman. Welcome to the flock to John.
All right. Hopefully he is not related to that dirty Patriots player, Julian Edelman. I bet you Julian went down with that injury and he signed up like this just to get in. What level did John come in at?
$3 to get in the Pick'em League.
Yeah, that's it. John is not really John. It's Julian Edelman who's trying just to get into the Seahawks Pick'em League, the Patreon Pick'em League.
I'm not going to lie. When I first saw John's name come through, I thought it was Julian. Like, just because I glanced, I saw the J name, I saw Edelman, and I bet you're right. I bet that something Julian would do to mask his name would be to spell it with 2 D's instead of 1.
Okay.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah. All right. I see you, John. I mean, Julian. I see what you're doing. Welcome to the flock, man.
Welcome to the flock to John Eric Freitag in at $3.
Nice. Solid name.
It sounds like a very solid German name, Freitag.
Yeah. I think you're onto something there.
And also a one-time donation from Mark Gretzinger at $3. So welcome to the flock to Mark.
Oh, cool. I appreciate that, Mark.
And we also got a raise from Mike King, who I mentioned on last week's show. He bumped us up to $3 so he could get into the Pick'em League and said, a raise? Yes, indeed. You guys are awesome, and I definitely find myself checking for new content daily. To me, that kind of effect on my life surely deserves a Lil Mo scratch. As always and forever, go Hawks.
Go Hawks, man. I appreciate that. And that's how you know you have the sickness, right?
Yeah. If you're checking your phone to see if the new episode of the Seahawkers podcast is out, then you know.
I think if you check it and hit refresh more than 3 times in between episodes, that's how you know.
Well, that's the sickness. But just so you know that you're into the show is just even once. Yeah,
but I mean, 3 times is the amount when you're like, yeah, I probably, I should get in the flock, be a part of this.
Your threshold is a lot higher than mine.
Well, I have standards, Brandon. Not everybody can be a flocker, okay?
All right. Well, if you do want to be a flocker, you can go to getintheflock.com. There, yes! I said it. I said it.
Yes, this makes me happy.
Yeah.
This is the quickest way for you to kill it off, Brandon, is to accept
it. It's for me to accept it. It's like when dad starts listening to the kids' music. Like,
yes.
You know, like with your daughter being, getting into her teenage years, and she says, "Oh, there's this cool band that I'm listening to, Dad," and you're like
Norwegian ska or something,
and you're like, "Oh, I love Norwegian ska."
Yeah,
and then she gives it up. That's the quickest way.
It's the quickest way. Good to know. Good to know.
But yes, getintheflock.com. Next week, Adam, I have an exciting announcement. Next week, we're going to give away a free year of NFL Game Pass to one of our members of the flock.
Awesome. I like that idea. And I don't know if we had discussed this or not, but our initial goal is to get to 300 flockers by the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're going to fall a little short.
Yeah, we're at 220, so we got about 80 to go. But this could be just one big push,
Right. But I was also going to say, if we get to 300 at any point during the season, should we just start doing the post-game shows?
Oh,
we can talk about this.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. All right. So if we just make it there. So like whenever you get
once we hit 300, that's when we start doing post-game shows.
Right. And that'll be fun.
But we're going to hit the deadline a week from today for our anonymous donor who is giving us $3 for everyone who joins at the $3 level and above. And and the other reason why we want you to get in at the $3 level is because, as we mentioned, you get into the Patron Pick'em League. We have weekly prize winners, top 5 top 5 for the entire season get prizes. We have autographed jerseys from Kurt Warner and Steve Largent. We have autographed mini helmets from Doug Baldwin, Cliff Averill, and Kurt Warner, and Steve Largent autographed football.
And I think we're going to come up with more prizes even from there. And we're going to have some weekly winners and things like that.
Yeah. It's a good time. So, Patron League.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing. You can get in the Patron League, which is fun, but you can also just get in the regular Seahawkers podcast Pick'em League as well. Yeah. Just going to be a lot more of us, harder to win things, but it's still a lot of fun. How do people do that, Brandon?
Seahawkerspodcast.com/Pick'em. And you can check just in the show notes too. And you want to make sure and register your team name. So that way we know who you are. We can reach out to you for prizes. And Adam and I like to pick out our favorite team names throughout the season too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Give people a little love, a little swag.
Yeah.
Have you settled on your team name yet?
I haven't.
One of our ladies in the Ring of Honor had a really good team name a while back, and I was totally going to use it, and I've completely forgotten what it was. I didn't write it down. I didn't save the post.
Well, the way I'm leaning for my team name, and now I'm thinking that you might steal it with your latest prediction, is Come On Reece Train.
No, that's yours, man.
Okay.
You've been on that for a while, so that's yours. Yeah.
I think Come On Reece Train will be my Pick'em League name.
Right. I was thinking about maybe going with a pun kind of like Dan Fouts about McKissick, and then getting kissed. You remember that one in the game?
Yeah, that was such a great, that was hilarious.
Yeah, super good.
I totally remember that from Dan Fouts.
I was trying to remember, some of the ridiculous ones earlier, but that was the worst one. He's like, J.D. McKissick, talk about getting kissed.
One of my favorite Sklar Brothers jokes is, I don't know if you know the Sklar Brothers. They have
I like the
twin
Sklar Brothers
comedy guys.
Yeah.
They want to make a product called the Fouts, like a beard trimmer called the Fouts.
Wonderful.
I think that would be that's a really good idea.
It is. You can't go wrong.
No.
Because he's been rocking the beard since he played. Man.
Exactly. I mean, what else is more synonymous than Dan Fouts and beards? Choking.
No, he's right there choking. Never getting that far in the playoffs.
They should change the Heimlich maneuver to the Fouts.
How's it? That's easier to say. Like, when you're like in an emergency, like, does anybody know the Heimlich maneuver? Like, that's a lot of syllables. Yeah. Hard to.
Does anybody know the Fouts?
Yeah.
Give him the Fouts.
Give him the Fouts. We solved an important international crisis right there.
I think we need to start a GoFundMe.
Okay.
To save up enough to collect enough money that we can buy the naming rights for the Heimlich maneuver and change it to the Fouts.
Or is that how that works with the naming of said maneuver?
Works with stadiums.
All right. Sounds good to me. Let's get in.
Yeah.
Let's get it done. Let's save some lives.
Save some lives. More efficient to say Fouts than Heimlich.
Yeah. Yeah. Although Heimlich kind of has that loogie sound in it, like Heimlich, so that does,
Well, that's confusing though, because it makes you think that you don't need assistance, that you can just kind of take care of it yourself, with just the throat usage.
There's a lot of problems with that. You're right. Dr. Heimlich screwed up using his own name.
Yeah, but we need to at least reimburse him for changing the name, which is why the GoFundMe. Dude. Well, his family, John Lennon's dead, but his family's still getting Beatles money.
Okay. I'm sure they are. Royalties.
Yeah. The royalties for the Heimlich maneuver name.
I don't think there's royalties on a choking maneuver.
I don't know why you're giving me such a hard time with this. This seems relatively straightforward. All
right, fine. Money, give it to kids. Got it. Moving on.
Let's get into some email, Adam.
Good.
Start off with John Davison says, "Hey, fellas. Looking forward to the game and the analysis to see how we go. Let's get the Fant thing in perspective, though. 1, I am still gutted for him. 2, he was our starting left tackle, I think. 3, if you see some news from the NFL and a team loses its starting tackle, you know that's going to affect them. So, can we thrive without Fant? Well, yes, and we'll have to. Now, for 1 minute, and I don't think we lost a major player, what I thought is we would have to make do and mend. I thought we were so tight against the salary cap we would have no one coming in, but I was wrong. I only hope that we can have an average player in that spot. You have to agree that it's an important position. As far as our quarterback position is concerned, I am sitting with everything crossed as I have backed them at 9-1. Go Hawks," from John.
Go Hawks. See, I like John putting his money where his mouth is, but not to worry. Your 9-1 investment is safe, John, because Rees Odhiambo, Pro Bowl caliber left tackle.
Yeah, Adam's already said he's going to the Pro Bowl, so
yeah,
chill out, John. That's cool.
It's all good.
Everything's good. See?
But he's right. I mean, it's going to affect the team, and I think it's going to be for the positive.
I do agree with John, though, at one point, and being gutted for Fant is
yes.
I mean, I think all of us are. You saw the amount when somebody puts in that kind of work to get ready for a season, you know that they're committed to doing it. And so I know a lot of us were excited to see the types of step forward that he could make. And just watching him go off the field, you could see the disappointment. And that was tough. But
absolutely, because he is a quality young man. And you are rooting for him on that level. There's no doubt about it.
So we will continue to root for George Fant. In the meantime, Rees Odhiambo, Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah. It's happening.
Right.
It's in the happens.
Exactly. I don't even know. I mean, we'll have our weekly Rees Odhiambo Pro Bowl watch.
Right.
All right, Adam. Next email here. Hey, guys. Matt from New Jersey. As a little flocker, I listen every week, and I've noticed you guys share my opinion about Mr. Andrew Luck. I have a serious flocking problem with how these experts rank QBs. Oh, it's never going to stop.
Never.
I don't know if you saw it on Instagram, but ESPN's Mike Sando had 50 NFL coaches and executives rank every NFL QB by tier. Below is the ranking. Oh, yes, Matt. We saw this. And yes, Adam and I had a discussion about this by phone because, we don't air all of our discussions that we have with each other. But when something big like this happens, we have to pick up the phone and call each other and discuss it.
Yeah. And basically just be like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. That was
because
my first
we
reaction.
get as shocked as you do. And I can tell you're feeling the same way here. So here. And Matt lists the two tiers here. Tier 1, and it's hard to argue with the first couple guys. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers tied for first. Okay. Yeah, those are tier 1 guys.
Fine. Yeah.
Big Ben, tier 1 guy. When he's not whining about being hurt. Yeah.
Oh, come on. He's a hell of a quarterback. Yes. Big Ben is a tier 1 guy, no doubt.
Drew Brees,
tier 1.
Number 4, tier 1. And then it starts to get a little bit sketchy, but Matt Ryan was last year's MVP, and considering this is NFL coaches and executives, and, they can be swayed by last year's results. So Matt Ryan in at number 5.
Tough to put Matty mediocre there. I don't understand that one for the life of me.
He kind of feels like a tier 2 guy to me, but tier 1, there he is. That's your first tier. Russell Wilson, not there.
Nope. So he's a tier 2 quarterback, according to all these brilliant GMs that passed on him in the first place.
Well, yeah, and apparently, I'll get into the rest of tier 2 here, but Mike Sando put out that somebody had put Russell in tier 3 even.
That person should have their left nut removed.
Yeah.
Just as punishment.
Right.
I don't know why the left one, but that seems like the one that should go.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even question whether or not it should be the left one. Just seemed obvious.
Yeah, because that is absolutely ridiculous.
Tier 2, number 6, behind Matt Ryan, Andrew
Catfish
Luck.
Yep, exactly.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, a guy that can't stay healthy, who has done diddly poo as far as going deep. I guess he's been to the AFC Championship game 1 year.
Right. Which is the same thing. I think Matt Ryan been twice now?
Yeah, he's been to the championship game twice. Yep. Yeah. So is Russell Carrington Wilson. Oh, wait. And then he's also been to 2 Super Bowls. Oh, wait. And he also has one more ring than both those jokers.
He's also won one playoff game every year that he's been a quarterback. And I don't know. I guess Tom Brady's the other one. Yeah, that's it. Tom Brady's the only other one.
Oh, and is Tom Brady the only other quarterback to have more wins than Russell Wilson since 2013?
Yeah. How about that? But no, we're still not to Russell Wilson because number 7 is Derek Carr.
I think Derek Carr can someday be in, or could at the end of this year be in that list. I very well think that he could end up there. But again, one great year, and then he got hurt before the playoffs. We couldn't even see what he's done in the playoffs. He just hasn't done enough.
Hey, I put both of these guys in tier 2, just not ahead of Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
But no, there's 2 more ahead of Russell. Tied for 2 more, both tied for number 8. Phillip Rivers of the Chargers and Matt Stafford of the Lions.
Wow. So Phillip Rivers, that's one. I think he is chronically underrated by a lot of people. He's an excellent quarterback, and so his body of work is a lot longer than Russell's, although not quite as accomplished in the terms of playoff wins and Super Bowl rings and that sort of thing. But a long career and a super, super awesome quarterback. If you want to argue Phillip Rivers, okay, maybe. But Matthew Stafford? Come on, Brandon. You don't think Matthew Stafford is even close.
Russell just beat him in the playoffs last year with 0 running game. Well, no, Rawls was back for that game. Earl Thomas was out, though. So everybody who says that Russell Wilson has a great defense, it wasn't so great without Earl back there.
Well, and the other thing...
Still beat Matt Stafford and the Lions.
Yeah, the big comment in this Sando article about Russell Wilson was, well, it's hard to separate Russell Wilson from Marshawn Lynch in the defense.
Yeah, he's been separated from Marshawn for 2 years now.
Yeah, minor freaking detail.
And passed for over 4,000 yards in the last 2 years without Marshawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, really hard to separate him.
Yeah, I can't make that separation in my mind. I can't. It's hard for me to visualize Russell Wilson playing multiple games without Marshawn Lynch running the ball behind him. It's impossible.
It's impossible. I don't know how GMs. No wonder they tied it to Marshawn Lynch to Russell Wilson's success.
No, of course, absolutely. Yeah, it's unbelievable. That thought experiment of Russell on his own.
I can't think of Matt Stafford being a successful quarterback without thinking about Barry Sanders playing for the Lions. Just those two things just are synonymous in my mind.
Well, it's almost like saying I can't picture Matt Stafford without Calvin Johnson. Except for you've seen him play without Calvin Johnson.
and been successul.
Right.
I don't know. I like the Barry Sanders example better, but whatever. You make your own deal.
Well, did he play with Barry Sanders?
In my mind, I can't separate the two.
You can't? Okay, well, that makes sense. As much sense as not being able to separate Russell from Marshawn Lynch. Just absurd.
Matt goes on to say, so ignoring the fact that Big Ben is literally playing this upcoming season with a walker. Matt, I don't know if you know what literally means, but that's okay. And the fact that Derek Carr doesn't have enough time in the league to rank so high, and the fact that Phillip Rivers probably has the lowest IQ of any player in the NFL, what the hell is with this Andrew Luck obsession? 6th? Based on what? Because all I see is a mediocre QB who gets hurt frequently. I always hear people say that, well, Luck does more with less. Wilson has better weapons. What? Russell Carrington Wilson is hands down the best quarterback from the 2012 draft class. And for him to be ranked 4 spots behind Andrew Catfish Luck is absolutely ridiculous. I'm just not buying this Luck Catfish. I could easily use my own facts, logic, and reason to debunk this nonsense, but it's more fun to hear you guys talk about it. Please discuss. Also, by the way, jam bands are awful. Brandan is 100% right not to like fish. Go Hawks from Matt.
Oh, Matt. No, great rant. I like how Matt got in touch with his inner rantiness there, and I appreciate that. I don't know that we can do it more entertainingly than he did because he really nailed it. But, hating on jam bands and fish, that sounds like a dude from Jersey.
And I will say, I don't hate Fish. I like their studio albums. I did dislike their concert very much.
Okay. Fair enough.
Just want to be on the record here. So Fish fans, you don't have to email me about how great Fish is.
But you still could. Give Brandan the business.
Yeah, you could.
This is the same band that, has the Wilson song. I
like the Wilson song.
Okay.
And I don't use mushrooms when I'm at concerts, so maybe that's a part of the reason. I'm sure that's a significant difference.
You weren't prepared for the concert.
Yeah.
That's a you problem, dude.
I know. I should have accepted those grilled cheese sandwiches that people were handing out on the way in the gate.
That sounds both delicious and magical. That's basically what you have to be eating is a mushroom-laced grilled cheese sandwich to think that Andrew Luck is 4 spots ahead of Russell Wilson. It's an absolute absurdity. The idea of the obsession the media has with Andrew Luck, Matt hits it dead on the head.
Number one pick. He was the number 1 pick. Nobody can get over that.
Right. He's the best prospect since John Elway. Rah, rah, rah. But, there's one easy comparison to me. Who's more mistake-prone, Russell Wilson or Andrew Luck?
I look at this list and all these guys on the list Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers, Matt Stafford, those three guys are all very mistake prone, willing to make mistakes. That's really what sets Russell Wilson apart from so many other quarterbacks. Look at Big Ben, a guy who's willing to make mistakes. And Russell Wilson gets penalized for being more conservative with the football and not turning it over than all these other quarterbacks.
Well, let's put the record straight, though. He's not necessarily more conservative. I mean, he's up in the tops when it comes to chunk yardage passing plays, year in, year out. I mean, he's got to be in the top 10 each and every year. I don't know about last year, but in
terms of chunk plays, yes. But I mean, in terms of willing to throw into double coverage just because you're down by some touchdowns.
Right. Sue him for being efficient.
Yeah.
And, making the right read and doing the correct thing with the football. Oh, I don't know if anybody knew, but the first rule of the team is it's all about the ball. It's the second rule, right? The first rule is always protect the team, right?
Don't talk about Fight Club.
Right. But that's not Pete Carroll. I shouldn't talk about Pete Carroll's Fight Club rules. You're right. I'm sorry.
Right.
But yeah, it's ridiculous he gets penalized for that. It's a joke.
And one of the other reasons that plays into this, the Seahawks and Russell Wilson, they don't turn the ball over. So it's not very often that they're down by multiple touchdowns. We've talked about it. The Packers game last year where they got blown out was the first time they've been blown out in the regular season. It's because Russell Wilson takes care of the ball. It's because they like to chew time off the clock. That's the way Pete Carroll runs his offense so that the team is always in the game. And Russell Wilson gets penalized for having a good defense.
Yep. And he can't be separated from Marshawn Lynch.
Right.
In fact, right now, I think they're looking to have a surgery done to disconnect them at the hip, because they're conjoined twins, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of that kind of notion, I was looking at, not Phil Simms, the other one, Chris Simms, for Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
He brought out his preseason power rankings. I was reading that during the break a little bit.
Oh, boy.
Wait,
Do Better hasn't started yet.
I almost made this my better at life.
Oh, okay.
He has your Seattle Seahawks at number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And his evaluation was something along the lines of, if you haven't seen Russell Wilson play during the preseason, you're doing yourself a disservice, because he's not only looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but one of the best players in the league.
Yeah. Number 1 passer in all of preseason, Russell Carrington Wilson.
And then I almost put him in my
I wonder
better
how
when
Andrew Luck's doing in this preseason. Haven't heard much about him.
Yeah, I don't know. What's going on there?
I don't know. He might not even make our game against the Colts in week 4.
Yeah, he's definitely not starting week 1.
No.
So
I hope he plays in that Colts game against the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah. Then I almost made Chris Simms my do better when I read the number 2 team and what he had to say about them, which was the New York Football Giants. And he declared the New York Giants defense the best in football, and Landon Collins the best safety in all of football.
Holy smokes. Everybody's on this Landon Collins hype train.
Yeah, that just happened. I don't know. This offseason, just all of a sudden.
I mean, he's good.
But he's Ronnie Lott and Deion Sanders and Steve Atwater and pick your Hall of Fame safety, Kenny Easley, all rolled in one. He's amazing.
Well,
Rod Woodson,
Troy Polamalu,
with a sprinkle of Bob Sanders. He's the greatest that's ever been.
He is the Lawrence Taylor of safeties.
Who knew?
Apparently
Chris Simms and everybody this offseason
knows he can carry the defense on his back.
Yeah.
Put the team on his back.
I don't know how you say that the Giants defense is the best defense in football, though. That's a
very Chris Simmsy thing to say.
It's because his dad played there.
Well, what do you say? On that note, let's get on to Do Better.
All right, man. Who you got?
My Do Better this week is for ESPN.
Okay.
They're doing something that's bothering me. With all the NFL protests going on, ESPN, they've printed a list running down every player on every team week to week who's protesting. And it reads more like an injury report than an actual story.
Is it like Kaepernick knee,
Cameron Jefferson, raised fist, Michael Bennett, sitting, Marshawn Lynch sitting. And essentially, Malcolm Jenkins raised fist. It goes nothing into the reason why any of these players are protesting. It's simply
that doesn't matter, Brandon.
It doesn't matter. It just matters that they're doing it.
Who cares about the why?
Who cares about the why? That's when you talk about the 5 W's of journalism, it's always just who and what and when, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And they got the where in there. Just an example. Here's the Seahawks paragraph. For the second straight week, defensive lineman Michael Bennett sat on the bench during the national anthem while center Justin Britt stood next to him with a hand on Bennett's shoulder. Defensive end Cliff Averill took a seat next to Bennett for the last few seconds of the anthem. Cornerback Jeremy Lane, who last week stood with his back to the field during the anthem, stood facing the field this time.
Hooray!
End of paragraph.
Hey, are we going to, at the beginning of every game, have the shot down to the sideline reporter that's like, oh, and Michael Bennett is sitting on the bench again this game, and Justin Britt has put his hand on his shoulder in a show of solidarity.
Yeah, because we don't care about, what's actually, players are getting ready and coming out for the game, or how guys looked during warm-ups before the game, or, we just need a play-by-play of guys who, and what they're doing. And not even talking about the reasoning. And that's my big point with this. Either do the story right or don't do it at all. This isn't the right way to do the story because it tells you nothing. It's an injury report of protesting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, ESPN does a piss poor job as journalists on a lot of levels. And the few guys that they have that are good journalists, they either let go or they move on to greener pastures. Yes, we all know what we're talking about. So, no, this doesn't surprise me at all out of the Worldwide Network and their sensationalism and just their infotainment that they have gone to. I remember back in the day where you used to get like real, stats and analysis and, interesting, like Bob Lee would come on and, tell you a story for half an hour about a player that was fairly in depth, right? Like some outside the lines thing or, something along those lines. But
they did just do the E60 on Camp Chancellor.
Sure. I mean, they
get stuff like that once in a while.
Right. But that was the norm
right
back in the day out of them. Now it's a bunch of crap about social media and, who had Twitter beef.
ESPN's competing with the Bleacher Reports and the 247 Sportses of the world right now when they should be doing what got them there. And this is not what got them there. So ESPN, tell the story the right way and do better.
Do better, man. No doubt.
This last week with the protests, it kind of got me fired up a little bit because I had someone post on the Military Seahawkers Facebook page about why our club was being kind of quiet on the whole thing about the protests and whatnot. And I went back to him and said that I had a couple concerns. One is that, the Military Seahawkers group exists to support the Seahawks. So the consensus of our group is that we're all Seahawks fans. And when it comes to the anthem protests, everybody's going to feel differently on it. So why would I put together like a group response? And it sounded like what he wanted me to do was get have everybody vote so I could get a consensus on if majority of people were upset about this, that I would then, submit something on behalf of our group. Right. And say that, 70% of all our members are really upset about this. So the Seahawks need to do something.
Oh, man.
Well, the thing I don't understand about that is then you have 30% that are in the minority. And why would I make their voice less significant? When we're talking about military veterans, why does it matter the percentage of who feels what a particular way?
Yeah, when there's, I don't know, say a gazillion more important matters to be concerned about as a group of veterans together. Support for all y'all when you come back from doing your service and those sort of things, the state of the VA. I mean, I could go on and on and on about, mental health care and all that stuff. Right. But no, we're going to sit down, have a divisive poll to try to divide one of our groups, our little sanctuaries where people can get together and just enjoy football and make it a divisive thing to what? To prove a point that doesn't at the end of the day really freaking matter.
I don't understand why we have to let issues like this divide us, because I posted my response and some of my concerns.
Yeah.
And he came back with a thing attacking my integrity. And right on the
that's how you know the guy doesn't have a credible argument.
And so he had emailed me a little bit before that with the same thing that he posted on Facebook. And I emailed him back and I said, hey, dude, give me your phone number. Let's talk about this on the phone.
Yeah, like men.
Didn't hear anything.
Oh, no way.
Why can't we talk about how we feel about things like this without attacking each other? That's what I don't understand.
Think about the culture. Like everything in the culture is drama, right? Like every TV show you watch is some reality TV show where people are in a fight over toothpaste or something nonsensical, and it gets blown up into this huge dramatic thing. And everybody wants all this drama in their life. It's a sickness.
We can talk about things and we can have discussions and disagreement. And that's one of the things Michael Bennett's talking about too. Talk to each other.
Yeah. I'm not doing this to be a jerk. I'm doing this so that we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll all learn to understand each other a little bit better. Unfreaking believable. What a crazy notion. He obviously hates the country.
Clearly. And that was my other point, is why trying to tie anthem demonstrations to respect for service members.
Yeah.
Because that's not what it is.
It's just not.
I mean, people who are veterans take it that way.
Yeah, the flag represents a lot more than just the military. You know what I mean? Like, it represents all of America. And our military is part of America, yes. But the flag represents a lot of other people with views and thoughts and stuff too, So I think by responding to it on behalf of military, it ties it to respect for the military. And when Michael Bennett and everybody else says, no, I love the military. Right.
Then why would I choose to take offense?
Yeah, that I don't understand. Look, I know I get more hot-headed than you do about stuff, right? But I don't go out of my way. Like when somebody tells me straight up what their intentions are and are honest and open,
yeah,
like I'm going to take them for their word, like Michael Bennett,
Well, that's enough of that for me. Who's your do better this week?
My do better this week, Brandon, is for the dirtiest player in football, Vontaze Burfict.
Yes.
This guy.
You didn't even need to say his name. You just say the dirtiest player in football. Everybody knows who you're talking about.
I would think so at this point, right? Like, this guy is really a scumbag, man. Like, this is the type of guy who tackles Cam Newton a couple games after he's had ankle problems, has him down by the lower legs, grabs him by the ankle, and twists it well after the play's over, just trying to intentionally injure the ankle. This is the guy that dang near took Antonio Brown's head off. This is the guy that's been fined $800,000 in his 6-year career.
Wow.
I mean,
when somebody tells you that they'd play for free, I don't think that's what they mean.
No. This guy takes it to a whole nother level. It's not that he wants to intimidate you. Like Cam Chancellor wants to intimidate you, right? But he's not going to try to poke you in the eye when, like Aqib Talib.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Vontaze Burfict is this kind of guy. He's a headhunter, and he's been this way since college. There's an article on Bleacher Report or on SB Nation, and it's a complete history. The title is A Complete History of Vontaze Burfict Being the Most Reckless Player in Football. And basically, it outlines all the way from college. He has numerous things like this in college as well. I mean, he's just a jerk. And the latest in his string of jerkish behavior, he absolutely obliterated the fullback for the Kansas City Chiefs earlier this preseason, coming out of the backfield on a little wheel route. Mm-hmm. And the ball wasn't even going his direction, anything like that. Completely defenses, back to him in the preseason.
Wow.
And he dang near took his head off. Just obliterated him. Got fined again, a bunch of money, but he's just a jerk, man. He's not out there. There's usually among the players, it's like, I'm going to try in between the lines and we're competing. I'm going to do everything in my power within the rules to, beat you up, smack you around, impose my will and all that, right? But at the end of the day, like you hear two quarterbacks talk at the beginning of a game, right? Or any two players really, or even after a game. Hey man, good to see you, dude. Stay healthy. That's like and they mean it. Nobody wants the other players to get busted up. They want everybody to be out there competing. They want that. And Vontaze Burfict is not that guy. He's an absolute headhunter, a jerk, and he honestly has no place in the NFL. I hope he gets suspended for a long period of time because his style of play has no place in our game. Vontaze Burfict, do better.
5-game suspension is what the NFL is coming out with.
And he's appealing it. And he'll get a couple games knocked off.
But I think the thing is this is really starting to escalate for him now.
I would hope so. I mean, once is a coincidence, twice is a trend, 3 times is a you problem, right? We're on like 46.
Right.
I just don't know what else you need.
Yeah. When you find the guy almost $1 million and then you start taking away game checks of not being able to play, at what point does he get the message?
And he intentionally tries to wreck guys' career out there on the field.
Yeah, that's messed up. In the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, 5 games would be the tied with the largest suspension ever for on-field activity like this, with Albert Hainsworth when he stomped somebody when he was a member of the Titans. He tried stomping on their head.
Yeah, who did he stomp on?
I can't remember, but it'd be tied with that. Not long enough.
No.
For the season. See you later.
Well, the next time it has to be for the season.
This time it does, man.
You'd like to see that. Oh, yeah. I know why you couldn't come up with the name with the guy Albert Hainsworth stomped on.
Oh, yeah? Because it's one I'll never remember.
Andre Gurode.
Oh, of course. Old Andre.
Yeah.
How did I forget?
How did you forget about Andre?
It's spelled G-U-O-R-D-E, though, right?
G-U-R-O-D-E. He was a center.
Okay. Oh, I was thinking he was like a guard or something.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember him.
Yeah. Cowboys player.
He probably deserved it.
That would be a trivia question. Yeah. Throw that one out there with your friends. Who did Albert Hainsworth stomp? And they'll go, who's Albert Hainsworth?
Right. And you already won the trivia.
Exactly.
Stumped everybody. All right, man, I'm going to get my better at life out of the way here real quick just because it's going to be a simple one. This goes to my second fandom, my very passive fandom for the Boston Celtics. As most of you know, I've listened to the show for a long time. The NFL is my true love. The NBA is something I do enjoy, but I watch it very much as a passive fan. So for me to call myself a fan of the Celtics, it's pretty loose. Like I maybe watch 20 games a year, 15 tops, and that's including playoff games. So it's not a ton.
Yeah.
But the GM of the Boston Celtics, Trader Danny Ainge, went out and made a blockbuster deal this last week, trading Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, a guy named Zizic that was just a European dude. I've watched him in the preseason a little bit. He sucks. And a first-round draft pick of the Nets that could potentially be high for none other than Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving coming to the Boston Celtics to pair up with Gordon Hayward and Al Horford. Danny Ainge has effectively created his next big 3. And here it is. We're ready to go. Going for another championship. I can't wait to win that and rub it in Jared's face because he's a dirty Laker fan. And of course he is. You knew he would be because he has the worst fandoms in the world. But Danny Ainge for pulling off what is a huge blockbuster deal. They've been working towards this for a number of years, collecting assets, and finally having the cojones to pull the trigger. Better at life than Skip Bayless.
This is weird because I don't even remember Danny Ainge getting Isaiah Thomas from the Pistons.
Well, yeah, because this is Isaiah Thomas that was former Washington Huskies star.
Oh.
Yes. Which that's the bummer part of this is Isaiah Thomas is like a really cool guy.
He's a cool guy.
And I mean, but
jokes aside, I do know that Isaiah Thomas had a son named Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, I know. But a 5'9" point guard with a hip injury who's 3 years older than Kyrie, and you were able to flip that. Personally, it stinks, but it is a business, and I get it, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the new Big 3.
I can tell.
In Boston.
I can tell. Well, one thing I think that got a lot of us excited this weekend and in my better life this week, Conor McGregor, who stepped into the ring with now 50-0 Floyd Mayweather.
Yes.
And he may not have won the fight, but was able to hang in there, provide some entertainment. I know a lot of us who root for underdogs. We're rooting for Conor to make it interesting. I went on KG's.
Oh, I wanted to beat the crap out of that girl-beating jerk in Mayweather. Oh, my God. I wanted him to wipe his stupid money smile off his stupid money face.
We wanted that, but those of us who understand sports knew that it probably wasn't going to happen.
Right. I knew it was a long shot.
The reason why I have him as my better at life this week, he had a solid attitude about it after the fight. He went out, he provided entertainment. It was a better fight. A guy who had never boxed professionally in his life against Floyd Mayweather put on a more entertaining boxing match with Floyd than Manny Pacquiao did in Floyd's last fight. So it's just for the fact that providing some entertainment, which is more than you could ever say for Skip Bayless, which is why he's better at life than Skip this week. And congratulations to Conor McGregor. By most accounts, seems like a stand-up dude. Huge payday.
Yo, keep getting them checks, Conor. Yeah, that's a huge payday for him. And I really am happy for him on that level. But it's really nice for him to go out there and not embarrass himself.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, although I'd embarrass myself for close to $100 million too. Like I embarrass myself every week on here for, nothing. So, yeah, I don't blame him for giving a shot, but he gave Mayweather a little bit of a run for his money the first 3 rounds, gave him the business a little bit.
Yeah. He got in some good punches.
I'm happy for him. I thought he put up a good showing, and it was totally worth watching a bootleg stream of it with French commentary.
Everyone who put up a bootleg stream better at life than Skip Bayless.
Yes, absolutely.
That allowed so many of us to find it, whether it was through Periscope or through Adam's Batman stream that he likes so much.
I'm not saying it's the greatest, but like you can generally can find what you're looking for on there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I probably have some crazy viruses on my computer, so I don't know.
As long as that's what it's for.
Yeah, I don't have anything good on this computer.
Just Skype to do the show every week, but
that's it. But I don't have any personal information on there.
Well, and while we're giving shout outs to people, I should give a shout out to Brandan McKay, who sent us in this last week some coffee mugs and some mouse pads.
And a really cool sign.
That sign's really cool. Yeah. The coasters.
Yeah.
That's cool to get that in the mail.
So we're working this out with Brandan. We're going to go ahead and offer some of these things up for a purchase. And Brandon's going to do them all up for us. Brandan McKay down there in California. They look sharp, man. They look pretty cool. It was his idea. He kind of brought it forward. He's like, "Do you think people would be interested in this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm interested in this. These things are sweet." So once we get that all worked out and the Kings figured out on how we're going to do that, we'll let you guys know, and we'll let you know how to order it up. But yeah, well, help out a fellow member of the Seahawks podcast listenership in Brandan, because he's got another little one coming along the way, and we figured, hey man, if we can do something where he makes a couple bucks, then that'd be
if you
great.
guys want some coffee mugs and some mouse pads and coasters, you know where to get them.
Exactly.
All right, Adam. Well, good show this week, and we're getting that much closer. After next week, the preseason will be over. We'll have people going to getintheflock.com so they can get their chance to win a free year of NFL Game Pass, and we'll announce the winner of that next week.
I'm excited for that. I didn't know we were going to do that till you just brought it up on the show here.
Yeah, I like to surprise you with things sometimes.
I know. I like it. I like it keeps me on my toes, man. I like the spontaneity of the show. It works for me.
I'm glad it does. And
I'm not a planner.
I'm not either. That's why
you're better at it than I am.
That's true. But I have some training from my spousal unit, so
that's exactly right. And the military.
That helps too.
Yeah. I'm just a rogue loose cannon out here. Just I don't know what I'm doing.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Hey, Adam.
What's up, Brandan?
Are you still there?
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere, man. I'm not going to leave you hanging like that.
Okay. I wanted to see if you listened to the latest episode of the SDR show this last week.
I have not, but I fly to Arkansas tomorrow, and I have it downloaded on the phone. So I have something to listen to on the plane. I'm very excited about it.
We talked about this last week, the SDR show, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, as a podcast, a weekly show with radio host Ralph Sutton and comedian Big J. Okerson. And this last show that I listened to, they had on Mario Cantone.
Okay.
Mario's an actor and comedian. And
that sounds like a good combination.
It was. And my favorite part was them talking about trying to explain the solar eclipse to flat earthers.
I'm going to like the show, I think.
I think so, too.
Yeah, that's hilarious right there.
Because, it's just discs up in the, I don't know if you call it air.
Well,
what do flat earthers call the sky?
I think
Is it still the sky?
The ether. I think it's just the ether, right? Like you go old school, like, Archimedes day, you call it the ether.
The ether. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Maybe you've gotten deeper into this flat earth stuff than I have.
Oh,
because I don't know what to call the sky anymore.
I've clearly gone deeper into it because if you are a flat earther, there's only one way to describe the eclipse and how that happens.
Magic.
It's the government, yo.
Oh,
it's all a conspiracy to make you think this thing is round. They put up 2 UFOs up there and they had them go one over top of the other.
Well, it does provide tourism to small towns along the path of the eclipse.
Right.
But why not do it more often then?
And did you know that the senators from all those states that it passed, they all got extra money from the small town lobbies to make the eclipse happen over their counties?
I think I heard about that in the meeting of the reptile people beneath the Denver airport.
That's exactly what happened.
That's where they make those decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. With the evil horse out front.
Right.
Yeah. Have you seen the evil horse out front of the Denver airport?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's because there's reptiles meeting down there plotting how to make an eclipse happen to fool us all into think that the world is round.
I know.
Yeah.
How are we just now talking about this?
I'm guessing that Mario on the Sex, Drug, and Rock and Roll podcast had a very elegant explanation.
The show's hilarious, a riot, chaotic, and as well as somehow also interesting and insightful.
So it's nothing like our show is what you're trying to say.
And a lot of butt jokes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, I'm in.
Just look up the SDR show wherever you listen to podcasts or learn more at thesdrshow.com.